What's that?
The Woodies. They bought me that shirt, the shirt that I was wearing when they dumped the bourbon on me. It's a diner in Lincoln.
Really?
And I'll probably mention it during the podcast because I'm a big fan of this place. But I found it a number of years ago because it's like this random little shitty diner that's rated 4.8 on Google. And it is a fairly conventional diner menu, except that they have a Reuben omelet. And it has everything that goes on a Reuben, like Thousand Island dressing, sauerkraut, Swiss cheese, like actual homemade corned beef, not Hormel bullshit, not sliced lunch meat, like real corned beef in like a 3-egg omelet. And man, it is fucking fabulous.
That is that sounds awful.
I would gladly drive to Nebraska for that omelet.
I'm not a big fan of Reubens. I'm not a big. I'm German and Polish descent, and I might be the only Polish German human who doesn't like sauerkraut. So, yeah,
it works pretty well in the omelet. Like I would caution you to give it a go.
Okay.
What I'd probably do if we took you there, maybe perhaps next year, if someone talks you into going, is I'll tell you what, you order the Reuben omelet. I'll order something else that you want, and if you don't like it, we can swap.
Fair
because
enough.
The Reuben omelet's pretty damn good.
Fair enough. All right.
Sauerkraut's one of the foulest things ever created by humanity.
It is.
I'll go for that almost 3 times a day.
It's one of those things where I'm
Up next on Inside the SCCA, Meme Street versus Papa Smurf. Welcome to Inside the SCCA. I'm Brian Bielanski, and this evening is going to be, I'm going to predict, and I'm not a prognosticator, but I suspect that this evening is going to be epic, folks. I also suspect that if there are kids listening, that maybe this shouldn't be the episode for them, because this one might get a tad bit saucy. My guests today are 2 of the coolest dudes out there, Randy Bish and Christian Korey. Welcome. I would say gentlemen, but I'm pretty sure that's not accurate in this situation.
We can round up.
some very fuzzy math there.
Yeah. I'd like to think we reside in the large gray area.
Yeah.
Well, there can be a lot of gray in that. There'll be a lot of gray in that. So I first met these guys at the Solo Nationals, my first ever Solo Nationals, and I believe it was your first ever Solo Nationals too, correct?
Yeah, it was mine.
Okay. Christian, had you been there before?
I competed in 2019 and realized that competition was not for me. I attended in 21 and 22. I literally just flew out and got drunk for a week and then flew back.
Gotcha.
And I was actually kind of begrudging that Randy wanted to compete this year.
But you're glad you did, didn't you?
In retrospect, yes.
Okay, good. So for those of you who followed the podcast that I did from Lincoln and all of my social media posts, I had alluded to on several occasions that I was in a heated battle to stay out of last place in H-Street. And for those folks who don't know a lot about how autocross works, H-Street is the slowest class in all of autocross. It is bone stock. And they start with, I don't think there's any A Street anymore, but there's B, C, B, all the way down, and then the last one is H. And there's 2 things that end up in H Street. The slowest cars, and the cars that don't belong anywhere else, that don't have any place else to race. And I figured I'm gonna go in my Honda Fit, and I'm gonna be. My goal was to not finish last. That was my entire goal, because I knew that I had a front wheel drive, underpowered, underbraked, bone stock. I was the only car, I believe, in Lincoln, guys, with drum brakes on it. So yeah, I was. It was difficult anyway. And I'm like, okay, and I resigned myself that I was probably going to be at the end at the end of the pack. But then you guys showed up and gave me hope. I'm like, these guys showed up with a Crown Vic, and I'm like, if I can't beat a Crown Vic, I'll never be able to show my face in public again. Well, I'm showing my face in public.
How'd that one work out for you?
It didn't work out so well. Thank you, Randy. Thank you very much. You guys both beat me. It looked like I had a glimmer of hope after the first day, and then I think you guys took the thing away into like some super stealthy garage and added like a turbocharger or something on before the second day, because it was way faster the second day. Yeah. So, tell me about this Crown Vic. Let's start with this.
So I have a number of cars. I did not have a proper winter car that I really wanted to expose to the elements. I drove my supercharged S2000 for one winter, and actually I'm driving that right now, even though it's winter for reasons that we'll get into later. I drove my wife's Miata, 96 Miata, which it really did not like driving in the winter as far as rust goes, so I don't do that anymore. And I'm like, I should just get some beater to run in the winter that I don't care about. And on top of that, like for, I think 2018, 2019 season, I think it's 2019 season, was the last season where I was really like trying to compete in autocross, and I just started getting really frustrated and not really having a good time. So the following season, I just started running my wife's 96 Miata, as mentioned, but I put purposely crappy tires on it. They came with Doral brand tires, which are like the cheapest brand tire you can get off of the internet. When they wore out, I put some Uniroyal Tiger Paws on it, and I just went out and hooned the crap out of it. And in H-Street, even though it was nowhere close to competitive, like just gracefully drifting and having a really good time. Then I was like, I shouldn't be beating on my wife's car, so I should get something rear-wheel drive for a winter beater / autocross beater, and that's why I landed on a Crown Vic.
Okay. And it's a great winter car because it's heavy as heck, right?
It doesn't hurt. I mean, it takes some sandbags in the trunk to actually get some traction in the winter. I mean, I have Blizzaks for it, but it's not necessarily about being good in the winter. It's more that I can expose it to the salt, slush, and spray.
Got it.
And not care that it's getting ruined.
So what made you decide that this was the perfect autocross car? The quintessential, the creme de la creme of autocross?
Well, the Crown Vic, especially the P71, which is the police package version, which you can get very cheap. It actually has a pretty stiff suspension.
Okay.
Stiff springs all the way around. They're meant for like mounting curbs at speed. They've got a big front sway bar, and they don't have stability control. So the way that Ford compensated for that to keep cops from killing themselves, they put a little tiny sway bar in the back. And in street classes, you're allowed to replace one sway bar. So I had this big factory front sway bar, and then I went and bought the biggest rear sway bar that anyone makes for it, which is 5 times stiffer than the stock sway bar. In addition to that, it's a short long arm suspension in the front, dual control arm, so it has a great camber curve. It's way better than a strut. The rear is a 5-link Watts-Link live axle, which is about as good as a live axle can possibly get.
Right.
And so, they actually handle pretty darn well with very, very minimal mods. They're just big and fat.
You're just trying to make me feel
and they're incredibly durable. So you can beat the crap out of them. You're not going to break anything.
You're just trying to make me feel better. That the car is a lot better than I thought it was, so I don't feel so bad, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, something like that.
You guys have a big heart, and I appreciate that.
You're not the only one that says that, though. Every person we put in this car is like, man, this thing's like a 150% scale Miata.
Yeah, it does. It just handles like a Miata that ate another Miata.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Shocking reaction.
Yeah, an NC that ate an ND.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Okay. I like that. I like that.
Miata.
So clearly, people who decide to autocross in a Honda Fit or a Crown Vic are there for a purpose. And it's probably to have more fun than it is to win. And I have never had more fun racing for last place in my entire life. You guys, we were near each other on the grid. We talked for 2 straight days, gave each other a bunch of shit. I tried my best smack talk game, and it did not get in your head. Maybe a little bit on Thursday, but you said no. I got this on Friday. You guys are just. I love having people like you at the racetrack, because so many people are too darn dang serious for probably not. Their seriousness may not equal their talent level. Let's just say that. You guys just go out there and have a great time, and I love that. And when did when did you guys make that your goal?
So you were saying about how the whole mismatch between skill and effort. The way I figure is that whenever we're all done on this planet, all we are is a date, a dash, and another date, and we're the dash. And I'll be damned if I'm spending that dash talking tire pressures on how to be half a second faster in a parking lot. So Christian showed up. You had the Dorals, and I had been given a free Crown Victoria, a different one that we named Vic Flair.
Oh, I love that.
On the worst tires I've ever seen in my entire life. And it was just you and I going back and forth, like, we should make a class out of this. And because the Steel Cities region is full of the most amazing enablers on the planet, they let us. And so Meme Street was born. And Meme Street is a class that we run that is almost completely open, except the minimum tread wear requirement is 420.
Oh,
so you can run anything above 420. Anything below that is off the table unless it's a snow tire. Snow tires are allowed. Or if it is, you can run Hoosiers, but they have to be more than 2 U.S. presidents old.
Yeah, anything tire that's at least two presidential administrations old. The tires that I have for the Crown Vic right now are not the tires that were on it at Lincoln, because I did not trust them to get Randy and his wife safely to and from Lincoln. I found them on Craigslist. They were off of a Boomer's Pride and Joy 3rd Gen Camaro, but they were dual drilled for the Mustang pattern. They are Koenig Monsoons, which were discontinued in 1995, and some BFG traction TAs or something. But they will be 25 years old in April of next year. So they will be eligible to run for Congress in the 2024 election. That's how old these tires are.
So wait, and I got beat by 420 tires?
You got beat by 500 treadwear tires.
Oh my gosh, no. So remember all that you were doing to make me feel better 5 minutes ago? It don't work anymore. Now because I had 200 I had legit tires. Oh.
They're Cooper's finest Grand Touring all season tires.
Of all the tires ever made, there's certainly some of them.
They are certainly some. And plus, you had the worst 200 treadwear tires. Your Durezas, those things, they overheat like halfway through a run anyway.
All right, thank you. Now you're back to help me feel better about this. We got a lot of folks in the chat, and Beast from who says all hail Meme Street royalty. Stephen Matchett. I'm hoping it's the Formula One mechanic Stephen Matchett. I miss Woody's. Joe SFS79 says I don't know why it was an H-Street. It's clearly an A-mod car. Joe also says ain't no laws on the pause. Allison suggested that you were right to leave your wife's car alone. What is that? Bill Devo racing for second to last. Yes, that's what I was trying to do, and unsuccessful. All right, so above your head, tilt your laptop for a second so we can see the logo here. This is the best thing in the world. You guys have, and that is He-Man, right?
Yeah. I guess it's Prince Adam, right? Yeah, that's Prince Adam.
Well, yeah, Prince Returning. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like he's got his neck tats. I don't know if you remember that part of the show, but I assure you it's there.
That's too good. So who came up with? So first of all, what is Meme Street? Let's dig into this a little bit.
So Meme Street is, at this point, it's a joke that's gone further than any of us expected. It's just this class that we started, this open, terrible tire class that has the one mission of pointing out how ridiculous autocross is as a concept. The people that spend all kinds of money and put all kinds of effort into autocross baffle me. And so it was 2020 or so. I was poor as could be and like, you know what? I'm going to run these terrible tires. And then you were there too. So you were the first adopter. And everyone just kind of picked up with it. And I'm lucky enough to be surrounded by really fun people who decided, like, you know what? Competition's one thing, fun is another.
So
was that? Go ahead, Brian.
I say so we've already established that the coolest cats in autocross are in Steel City's region, because they apparently embraced this. Did they immediately embrace this idea, or did you have to do some convincing?
So there was no active convincing.
Okay.
You saw, and many people saw how much fun we were having at Nats. Well, the people at Steel City saw how much fun we were having, in our respective classes, or when we were running Meme Street. And at first it was just a couple of us, but the participation in Meme Street has grown steadily, and it's kind of become a catch-all for people who aren't going to make enough events to be competitive, but want to have fun, or people who are still very new to autocross and don't like the pressure of trying to compete in a real deal class.
Right.
Or, towards the end of the season, we have 10 events in Steel Cities, but they only count 6 of them. So there's 4 throwaways. But, once you have your 6 events and you have your position in your class locked, usually by the last event of the season, there's a lot of people who participate in Meme Street because they don't care anymore. And so our last autocross of the season this year, I think we had 21 participants out of 120 people total.
That's awesome
for our autocross event. So it was about a fifth. We're all in Meme Street.
Right. So at Solo Nats, the vast majority are pretty hardcore about this. There is a large group of people that are just there to go have fun. But let's just say half of the field is pretty hardcore. And about a quarter of those might think they might get a trophy. So when they see you roll up with the Crown Vic that's painted in the colors of the rainbow, and I don't have an exterior picture. I wish I did. I probably should have downloaded that.
I can send you one real quick if you want.
Yeah, I don't know if I can get up quick into my system here. So, but I'll put links to your Facebook page and everything in the show notes. So people can find you or wherever you want me to send them. We have a video we're going to show here in just a few minutes of our 2 cars side by side, so people can see the evidence of me getting my ass whooped by a Crown Vic, and where you guys made speed, which is right off the line. But anyway, so how were you received when you rolled into Lincoln with your Crown Vic?
Ooh. I think off the bat it was a mixed bag. There were some people who kind of got it, and then there were a lot of glares. There were a lot of, what are you doing? You are obviously lost. And I think as the week went on, we started to win people over with just the insanity of it.
Yeah.
And by the end, I would call it I'd call it a 90-10 split. 90% of the people there were really getting it. They're like, all right, these dudes are just here for fun. They're having a ball. Fantastic. And the other 10% were still upset and probably still are to this day, but that's all right.
Yeah, no, and you know, if only 10% are butthurt by two guys showing up in a rainbow-colored Crown Vic having a blast, then I think that's a success. Because you know there were like on Thursday when you showed up on the grid next to me, there were like quizzical looks. People kind of like walked around wide because they thought maybe they'd get some disease from standing close to the car that might make them slower in their car. And then by the end of Friday, you were the most popular guys there. And everybody was coming by to shake your hands and high five and look inside the car. So definitely you had a growing sense of fandom there. And even though I was on the wrong end of the deal, I was a fan very much at the end. So
I think until we made it to grid, I think people thought it was just a paddock vehicle.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody realized what was about to hit
because
them.
it was rolling around all week, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It was just rolling around paddock because it was Randy and Lauren's like chariot.
Right. Well,
So anytime they needed to go, people didn't realize it was competing.
yeah. And we were at the same hotel together. You know.
Yeah,
and
we were.
and
I wasn't. I was sleeping in Donna's Rogue.
Yes, yeah.
I Turo'd a Rogue and just slept in the parking lot.
But when I rolled into and I'll be honest with you, my first reaction, because I didn't know, I saw it in the parking lot at the hotel, and it had this, and I'm like, what in the F is that? That was my first reaction. And then at one point I saw H-Street, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I've got not last place in the bag. That was my goal for not last.
Oh, my sweet summer child.
Just got so much easier. I'm like, there's no way. But I was wrong. Terribly, terribly wrong. And there's other Crown Vics out there, aren't there?
Yeah, this is starting to pick up. There are now multiple spec Vic series. There's at least two, one on each coast, and it's just people buying up old Crown Victorias and flogging them because they are really, really good at this.
Yeah, the two classes that he's referring to is Spec P71 and then there's Spec Panther. So Panther is the name of the chassis. So that would include like town cars and stuff like that. But the P71 specifically, honestly, outside of brake pads, is pretty much ready for the track as it comes because they're meant as pursuit vehicles. So they've got an oil cooler, a tranny cooler, a power steering cooler, a big, big radiator, and they don't make enough power to hurt themselves. So there are the road race series that are centered around them, you know, basically being an inexpensive car that is basically monospec. And they're also cheap as chips. They're rear-wheel drive, so they're relatively entertaining. The only real downside is the transmission, which can just burn in hell. I hate that piece of crap.
Well, but you have a story about that now, don't you?
Well, yeah. I've been hinting at it in our little autocross chat recently, but at the last autocross event, the transmission started making some rather unhappy noises, and I kind of had it a limp at home. So I had already been considering manual swapping it at some point, but it is going to have a Mustang 5-speed for next season and all seasons thereafter because I hate that polished turd of an AOD that it came with a passion. That's like the last thing in that car that I really, really hate. So it's gonna be gone.
So will swapping out into a manual that wasn't part of the spec line take this out of H-Street?
Well, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret here, Brian. We weren't legal for H-Street.
Yes, I know.
As it was at Max.
Yes, I know.
We were just hoping someone was going to be dumb and proud enough to protest us, and so congratulations on not being that guy.
Well,
yeah.
I wondered.
Yeah, it's specifically what made it illegal is it has 430 rear gears and a Torsen limited slip. simply because the transmission, like the gears are spaced so far apart that it came stock with 355s in the rear end, which was the shortest stock rear ratio. And second gear with that configuration was good to 89.5 miles an hour, which is just absolutely ridiculous. So with 430s, I think it was only good to like 74 or something like that, which is still geared really tall.
Yeah. A lot of people in the chat suggest that you should be an A-mod.
So for the viewers who are not aware of the minutia of internet arguments during silly season of autocross.
No, arguments on the internet? Shocking.
It's crazy. There's a certain gentleman, A-mod competitor, who has a unique interpretation of the rules that says that cars that are not like two-frame specials should not be allowed in A-mod, and there has been like much argument and discussion about this, and people trying to rationally explain to him why that's not what the rules say, and he is remarkably resistant to facts. So we've just had a ball with this. And fun fact, we were actually going to be in A-mod, not H-Street, because you can run anything you want in A-mod as long as it meets the safety requirements.
Right.
You're allowed to run an A-mod. That's what we were going to do. But the vast majority of the people who are competing from Steel Cities at nationals were going to be in Tuesday, Wednesday classes, and many of them lamented that they weren't going to be able to observe the antics that is Meme Street. So we noticed that H-Street was running Thursday, Friday, and so we moved over to H-Street. But I can't imagine how big of a stroke Neil would have had if we had been an A-mod competing alongside him.
Oh man, can you imagine his reaction when he gets this podcast on VHS on next Thursday?
Yeah, so Betamax.
On Betamax.
He's gonna throw his New Balance across the street, the game room.
Well, he's gonna try to throw it across the street. It'll land on his porch.
Yeah, he'll tear his rotator cuff.
Yeah. Well, I will say that there are a lot of people in this world today who don't want to think about what facts have to do with stories. So,
Really?
So I think there's.
I'm not aware of this. This is new to me.
There's a lot of whoever we're speaking of gets a lot of practice, I'm sure.
He's a fan of alternative facts.
Yeah.
Oh, this is too much fun. Too much fun. My guests are Randy Bish and Christian Korey, the owners of the Canyon. Can you explain that part? What is the did I pronounce it right? Canyon?
Yeah, close enough.
So, as for those who haven't seen it, it is coated in blue truck bed coating.
Yes.
So, number one, it's invincible now. But if you remember the Nyan Cat from like 12 years ago,
okay,
it's this cat with the body of a Pop-Tart pooping out a rainbow, playing this really addicting little 12-bar song.
Yeah.
As that flies through space.
Yeah, as it flies through space. Space is important. And that we just played that song with that and the rainbows and all on the side of the car.
Right.
As massive as can be.
Right.
So we're trying to name the car because every good ship needs a name.
Yeah, I mean, I've got Papa Smurf.
Like, okay, it's a cop car, K9 unit,
yes.
Canyon unit.
Got it.
Call it a day.
Very nice. Very nice. Now, I will tell you, to be perfectly honest, I had seriously considered filing a protest against you guys. But not for...
We were seriously considering protesting each other.
Well, that's even better. Oh, that would have been awesome. But you may be surprised at the grounds for my potential protest.
Oh, do tell.
So, with that truck bed paint, which is, of course, got that, like, texturing to it, right? I sensed that was very similar to the dimples on a golf ball, and that was providing you aero. And there's not supposed to be any aero in H-Street. So I was going to suggest that you would add an additional aero, which would completely put you out of H-Street into maybe H-Street Prepared or something, you know.
So, oh man, that's the next gag that we do.
Yeah, we can get pick up. We had a couple of offers of like suction cuppable wings that we could have put on the car, we'll do that next year. We're gonna just HSP, and people are like, "What class is that?"
Yeah.
H-Street
Oh, we're totally gonna HSP prepare some Turo Sentra.
Yeah, or MSP, and people are like, Minneapolis? Like, no, Main Street Prepared.
Main Street Prepared. I love it.
Man.
No, but that was going to be where my protest was going to come from, and I would have plopped down my $50 or $100, whatever that is.
$200.
It's $200. I would have gotten a sponsor for my protest.
Well, you see, he caught on to us, so now we have to go to AMOD.
Yeah, I have to go to AMOD. Sorry,
Yeah.
Neil. We're coming.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
because
mean,
there's no rules in AMOD.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah,
It's similar to running on Tiger Paws. There's no laws when you're on pause or when you're running an AMOD.
right.
If you're
Yeah,
listening
that,
at home,
that about nails it.
if you're watching at home, and you want to ask a question, please feel free to throw it in the chat here. MP Messiah 2, please ask about one Yamaha YSL 610. There's four. He's got two. He or she has two. He has two questions. Four questions. We're gonna get to all of them here because I'm sure there's inside jokes about all of these. So, tell me about Yamaha YSL 610. Because let me just start with the fact I went to college to be a jazz saxophone player, and I saw that, and I'm like, "There's no way." But explain, please explain.
So when I signed up for Nats, and we originally signed up an AMOD, I'm like, what's an AMOD sounding vehicle? I know. I threw in a Yamaha YSL 610, which, if you haven't Googled it at home yet, is a trombone.
Right.
And whenever I had to, send the email to switch classes, whoever it was on the SCCA side that emailed back, like, you're going from AMOD to H-Street. Do you want to change from a Yamaha YSL 610? I'm like, no, that's not at all necessary. So my first run, it was announced as a Yamaha, and everyone's just kind of confused out of their minds. And you could visibly see the Googling, and, oh, that's a trombone. What has my life become?
Yeah, the announcer was like, Yamaha YSL 610. I'm not familiar with what kind of car that is.
I forgot about that joke.
Yeah. I don't think he was making a joke. I think he was.
Oh, no, absolutely not. He was about as confused as could be.
Yeah.
So the top of the line Yamaha saxophone, the pro level, is the Yamaha YAS 875. So when I saw that, I'm like, there can't be. So and that makes me so happy. All right, next question from LPR Messiah 2. I'm supposed to ask you about the Fiesta brake change in Toledo.
Oh, this was 2019 or so.
Okay.
And it was some event at the Toledo airport.
Right.
And I roll up in my Fiesta ST, which over the years has become probably the most flapped one in the country. And I roll into the hotel parking lot as one of my brake pads goes to backing plate. So like, okay, the event's tomorrow. Let's see what brake pads are in town. I go to an AutoZone, and all they have is whatever their like entry level. So yeah, it was like an Autocraft silver. Please don't use us. We will melt brake pad.
The Duralast tin.
Yeah. So we went out to dinner. We come back. Most of the Pittsburgh region. There's video of this. There's like 25 people in this parking lot. Most of us hammered, live streaming the event as one person slaps brake pads on my car, and everyone else spectates and goes, "Yeah, that looks about right." So I did that entire event on pads that I think they were literally $13 for the front sets. And oddly enough, the rotors were about as blue as the car the next afternoon.
Right.
Those brakes were terrible, but it was a great night.
You didn't properly bed them in? What the heck?
Yeah, I mean, I hit the brakes. I assumed they were bedded.
Oh, man. That's awesome. Awesome. Okay. Tell me about the wiring job of the Hellahorn.
Hellahorns?
Oh, I think he's referring to the speakers.
Oh, the speakers.
Because I love this part.
So
If this is what I think
So-
this is.
Yeah. So the Canyon for Nats. Nats. Man, how do we not make that joke? That's opportunity.
We've got years to go.
Yes, we do. It had an external stereo system because I like being a public menace.
No.
And this was a boat stereo system, which if you look under the hood, the head unit is just jammed between the radiator support and the airbox. And
is it even bolted in?
There are two speakers in ammo boxes hidden in the bumper facing the ground. And then there's two speakers in the grill, so they look like hella horns. So you just hit a little switch and it plays whatever interesting and probably annoying meme music you want as you drive around.
So I wanted it to play the Dukes of Hazzard, fanfare. And or even better would have been, like the theme song to Debbie Does Pittsburgh or something. From back.
I mean, if we're doing anything Yinzerific, it's got to be Donnie Iris or a 3WF or a DVE sketch. Like it's got to be a Pansonet commercial.
Yeah,
that's a joke. 3.
Okay, tell me about Wally Stefanovic.
Oh man, Wally is literally too long of a story for this, and also I'm too sober for it.
Oh boy!
But it boils down to I got doxxed by neo-Nazis and needed to hide on the internet for a minute, so I became Wally Stefanovic. So if you knew an obnoxious Wally on the internet, that was probably me.
Oh, that's too good. That's too good. Calvin Owens calls them the Bish breaks. I'm guessing that's the Toledo brake job story.
Any brake that works about half as well as it should's a Bish brake.
Yeah. Let's see here. Yes, the timing trailer at Nats didn't appreciate the Yamaha reference.
Down River.
Yeah.
So good. So good. So what's next? I mean, you got to think that this kind of thing needs to be everywhere. Meme Street needs to be maybe not a national class, but maybe it does. What the heck? I mean, because it's simple. I mean, autocross is a thing, and I know different people roll their eyes, but there are people that take it really seriously. But Meme Street would open the door to a bunch of folks who might actually show up at an event and be a little intimidated, right?
Yeah. As I mentioned, there are people who show up and choose Meme Street for that reason. Like, usually they are the friend or spouse or something of an established member who isn't terribly fast, and then they'll both compete in Meme Street because it kind of takes the pressure off and everyone's having a good time. Like, you come into a new region and you're in whichever class and everyone's super serious, you're going to be A, intimidated to start with, and B, you're gonna not perform well,
right,
and then be unlikely to come back. So it's kind of a nice way to ease people into autocross. Additionally, there are other regions in the area that have come to our events, appreciated Meme Street, and are starting Meme Street classes of their own, like just local regions. So, Nationals hasn't reached out yet. They're too busy making podcasts about spec classes that may or may not be concurrently occurring right now. But if Nationals, the SCCA would like to create a Meme Street class, we would be happy to consult free of charge.
Yeah,
there you go.
And this is one of those things that has honestly worked out far better than any of us could have imagined.
It does have legs.
It does. At the end of the year at Pittsburgh, the last event we call WrestleMania, and it gets as off the hook as possible. People are showing up in costumes, and whoever wins gets a lasagna. Like, it is absolutely just getting insane. And every year, like, we advertise, and we have people show up that have never autocrossed before in their life. And we're finding, we had just had our second one this year. Some of these people that are showing up are coming back the following year.
Yeah.
Like, the winners of WrestleMania this year. By the way, to win WrestleMania this year, it was not who was fastest. It was who ran a time closest to 4:20.69.
Nice.
And the event was won by this guy in an 84 turbo diesel Mercedes being powered by veggie, fry oil. And he's never done an autocross before in his life. And him and his friend in the car are showing up again next year. Like, this is a phenomenal recruiting tool because there is zero pressure. And the people that show up, if they want to stay zero pressure, they come back. If they get into a competitive spirit, they know how the event works. They go from there. Like, yeah, this is accidentally working like a hot damn.
I was thinking that Meme Street might work great as kind of like a bracket racing situation where people put their breakout time and they've got to hit it, and those who come closest to their breakout time, no matter what they're in, would be your winner. But I like the 420. I like the 420 reference. I think that's genius. I'd have to figure out how to get that to work, but we could do that. That's awesome.
Well, it was 42.069.
Yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of which, there's a very wonderful factoid that I found out only today. So Nats, you had me, Brian, on the first day by like a second.
Yeah, I think I beat you in the packs though, didn't I?
Well, I mean, it's the same pack, so yeah. You beat me by a second on the first day.
Yeah.
The second day, I beat you by 4:20 on the dot.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
There's some karma
I
there.
couldn't do that again if I tried.
There's some karma there. There should have been an edible involved in that.
Who's saying that there wasn't?
Yeah, I haven't said anything about that. This is a class totally run by sober people, I assure you.
Exactly. Exactly. So I'm supposed to ask you about the Bob Ross painting while announcing D Street?
Oh. So I'll typically announce for our region, and D Street is the most mind-numbing class on the planet. Because all you see in D Street, you've got a couple stragglers that still haven't blown up their Civic Type Rs, and you have a bunch of the new twins. Well, and the old twins too. And I am so tired of seeing 35 BRZs in a row go. They all sound terrible. None of them are impressive. They're like zebras. They all look the same out there. So one event this year, I finally had it, and I set up a table to announce it, and I break out an oil paint set, and I just paint a little scene of a BRZ burning to the ground on the Nordschleife, just because I was so tired of actually announcing the class.
Watching paint dry was more
Yeah,
fun.
watching paint dry was more fun than announcing that godforsaken class.
That was the punchline.
Joe suggested if the course is long, we can shoot for 69.420.
You could, but at that point, you start to get into sandbagging territory, which you could. There's a surprising amount of strategery in this class. So at the end of the year, whoever wins the entire class wins a lasagna.
Yeah.
However, there's also a cash prize.
Okay.
Whoever takes third place in points at the end of the year wins 69,420 Vietnamese dong. So it was great at the end of the year trying to figure out points of like, how do I not come in second, but how do I do better than fourth?
So how many 500 tread width tires can I buy with that Vietnamese dong?
Well, it depends. What country do you plan on buying them from?
Roughly 2% of one tire.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll have to take that to Tire Rack and see if they'll work with me on that.
Yeah, I mean, if Tire Rack takes dong, we're going to have a whole different year.
Yeah, you just need to get a UPS flat rate box. You stuff it with dong. Stuff that dong into that box.
Yeah.
And send it to Tire Rack.
First you cut a hole in the box. And then you put the dong in the box. Then you send it to Tire Rack.
It's possible
I
that
bet Simple Tire will probably take dong in a box.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I believe there might have been a Saturday Night Live skit about this.
It is sounding vaguely familiar.
It does sound like
That was the
something.
other shirt I was considering wearing. I have a shirt that says "Step 1, cut a hole in the box." we were on a vacation recently, and a park ranger was talking to me, and someone was walking past. They're like, "Oh my god, I love your shirt! Oh, that's hilarious!" And the park ranger had not seen the Saturday Night Live skit, and I had to explain to this very, very nice 22-year-old lady what the Step 1 cut a hole in a box skit was and what it referred to. And she's like, Oh, that sounds interesting. I'll have to look that up when I have internet access later. I'm like, okay.
Have a good day, sir.
I'm gonna go kill myself. It was very nice to meet you.
And she went home.
Oh, is that the Grand Canyon?
and she went home, and when she got to the internet, watched that skit 47 times.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a good skit.
Oh, it's a great skit. It's a great skit. Wow, this has been a ton of fun. What have? Oh, you know what? We haven't showed the video yet. You're not going to have the joy of seeing the side by side here. But
that's okay. We lived it.
But yes, we did. We both did. So the video is going to pop up here, and as you will see, my car is on the left, and you can see already that like by the first corner, I'm already a whole like gate behind you. And this is from Friday, so this is my one clean run because I was so intent on not finishing the last. When I blew my first two runs and one absolutely miserably. But yeah, I mean, when I watched your video somewhat closely, if I could get techie for a moment, if I can take a moment of seriousness, yeah, it just like the car looked like it was doing everything right, just H-Street slow. You know, if you.
I was getting at it. Like, once the Crown Vic really does do good things as far as like handling goes. It doesn't, especially with the big bar in the back, and you know, it lift throttle oversteers really nicely. It doesn't understeer a whole lot. It brakes surprisingly well. It can put power down, especially with our illegal Torsen differential. You know, like it's just not fast. It's 4,000 pounds and 250 horsepower on a really, really good day.
Yeah.
You know, maybe in Death Valley. Did I don't know what run you sent him. But
all right, we're here with
your quick run.
Your run two.
Yeah, run two on Friday.
Yeah, whatever the fastest run was. So, it would have been better to have one of Randy's runs because that was closer to me.
I mean, most of my runs are me just making jokes and occasionally singing Italian opera on Korey.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. Randy is the much more flamboyant and entertaining announcer while he's driving.
Yes.
I'm the much more flamboyant driver.
Yes.
Kristen drives like he's trying.
Right.
I drive like I'm trying out for a stunt driver in an 80s cop movie. and I like to think that I perform.
No, some pretty big drifts that I ripped.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
That last run. So his last run, he did probably I think it's like a 15-second burnout. It's insane.
Yeah, it got to second gear.
Yeah, it was a second. I forgot you made it to second gear. Those back tires were just magma. So your first, like I watched the video today, his first 4 turns are just ridiculous because the back tires are a liquid.
Yeah. So, you know, there was one run, and I don't know which of you it was, who, let's just say, lit it up a bit. And that was the only thing I saw anybody pushback about, was apparently throwing all that rubber around made people feel a little unhappy. But damn, it was awesome.
Yeah, there's some Neil wannabe from one of the classes. He just decided he didn't like people having fun and complained that doing a burnout at the line was causing marbles all over the start line. You know, because a burnout from a rear-wheel drive car is going to throw marbles, you know, where the front wheels of front-wheel drive cars go.
Right.
And also, you know, those front-wheel drive cars have so much problems with traction with 197 horsepower, whatever the heck the H-Street cars make. Like, yeah, cry me a fucking river. Like, no one at the event complained. He wasn't in that class. He just has some sand where the sun doesn't shine.
Yeah.
And felt like expressing it.
Those tires are legally made out of granite. I assure you, nothing came off of those.
Yes.
There were no marbles to be seen.
No, only vapor.
There was only, if anything, we were cleaning and prepping the launch surface.
Well, that's what I was thinking.
Thanking us.
I would have been happy to have been right behind you because you put a little rubber down for me to get a little grip because I needed all the help I could get.
Basically VHT. I mean,
exactly.
I mean, really, we're pioneering this. There needs to be a worker position for all national events from now on. Just the dude with the bleach bucket and
Yes.
the hose, just hosing down the burnout box.
Yeah.
Like,
Nice.
we're pioneers here in so many ways.
Nice. So there was one. There's a heartwarming's not the right word, but you guys had some help getting to Lincoln, right?
Yeah. I am the luckiest person on the face of the planet because most of the people of the Pittsburgh region have been begging me to go to Nats for a long time. And it's always been something. Either I've been, totally broke, couldn't get off work, something like that. And this was the year that everyone was like, you know what? We're going to chip in a couple bucks. We're going to send you out. It's going to happen. So somebody in the region, Appealster, set up a GoFundMe for this reason. And people just started showing up and donating, for the most part, $69 each.
Yeah, I think I donated $69.
Shocking.
Yeah, everyone's just donating $69. And like, okay, I guess we're going to Nats. Let's figure out what to take. And then Christian here owns the Cayenne. Is like, here, take this car. It's ready. Let's do something ridiculous with it. And the next thing I know, there's a couple gallons of truck bed coating showing up. And we're putting this stuff on with a roller. And all of the painting was done by my furry artist friend with graffiti paint.
But
This thing looks phenomenal.
back to the graffiti to the truck bed paint. There was an actual reason why you did that, right? It wasn't just because you thought truck bed paint was cool, right?
No. So the white Ford Crown Victorias of that era, the paint does not stick well to the zinc coating of the body, and in large areas it was just flaking off. So before we painted this thing, wherever it would flake off, twice or three times a year, I would just run a paint scraper over it and then just hit it with household white Krylon or whatever, just to like make it all one color. But if we had just used paint to paint the thing, that we're painting over that crappy white paint, and that white paint's going to just come right off. So truck bed coating, is rubberized and exceedingly tough.
Right.
And what a lot of people don't know is they actually use truck bed coating, a very similar formulation, on the outside of government buildings where they suspect there could be a terror attack, because that membrane of rubber will hold concrete together if it is shattered due to a bomb blast or something like that.
Wow.
So truck bed coating is incredibly tough. And I figure any area of that paint that starts to peel up, that truck bed coating is going to keep it down, and it'll never actually fail.
Yeah.
And for the time this thing was in my driveway, I kept a claw hammer on my porch. And whenever I would get bored, I would chuck a hammer at this car. And it bounces off. There was a dent on one of the fenders that we didn't pull the dent. We just kept filling it with more layers of truck bed coat. You can't see it now. Like it's just like a half-inch thick layer of truck bed coat. And it is indestructible. If we hit a deer, it would just be confetti.
I love it. I love it.
This car will outlive all of us. And you know what? It's best that way.
Yeah. So are you coming back to Nats next year?
I think so. Like I think it's gonna have to happen. The precedent has been set.
Yeah.
I don't think I can show up and we do something this ridiculous and not have a follow-up. How we top it is going to be an interesting discussion.
Right.
But yeah, it's gonna have to happen.
Well, if you bring the Vic again, I have a request. Can I get one run on the practice course in the Vic?
Oh, absolutely.
Just so I know how my ass was beaten so badly.
I mean, we'll give you the full tour. We'll throw you in the back seat on the skid pad. Make sure those tires are very clean.
Oh, sure you will. Sure you will. Well, so it wouldn't be a police car if someone hasn't thrown up in the back seat.
Yeah. Well, actually, when I got it didn't have back seats. So I think it probably had one of those purple plastic shells, and they took it out. So it was just seatbelt sitting back there.
Yeah.
So I went to the junkyard and I found like a 2002 Lincoln Town Car with these platinum silver leather seats that like might as well be made out of Teflon because they're so hard and slippery.
Yeah.
It is amazing to watch people try to sit in the back during an autocross run as they slide side to side on these like very, very slippery seats. It's hilarious.
Oh,
Very much that.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Comfy when you're not screaming in terror.
They are really
Yeah, they're really nice actually.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Guys, don't ever change. I don't imagine that me saying that really means anything because I don't imagine that you ever would.
I don't think we could.
Yeah. I had so much.
Our lives with therapy could change us as long since passed.
Yeah. I had such a blast, and everybody who was around you guys, from what I could tell, also did. And while I completely respect those who go to nationals and be serious and want to win a national championship. There's absolutely a place for those of us also rans or not even close to also rans to have some fun. And you took fun to a level that I didn't think was possible at a national championship event. And I really appreciate being able to go out there and have fun with you guys.
I mean, if there's any mantra to take away from this, it's if you can't dazzle them with your brilliance, baffle them with your bullshit.
Yep. Yeah, I love it. Christian, do you have a final parting thought before I head out here?
No, I don't have any stolen quotes, I guess.
I steal only the finest of quotes.
What was it, Smokey Eunuch or some shit like that?
Oh, we pulled a total Smokey Eunuch. We showed up with a 9/8 scale car.
9/8. Yeah, it was more like a 12/7 scale Miata.
12/7. What is this? A Rush song time signature?
I guess I would just say that, really people who enjoy autocross should, consider trying a little bit less and having a little bit more fun, because I am enjoying myself so much more since the inception of Meme Street than I ever did when I tried to actually compete. I think that a lot of people would if they would let themselves.
Yeah. I like to tell all the internet trolls, it's better to let the world think that you're a fool than it is to fire off a Facebook post and remove all doubt. So that is my stolen quote and modified for the internet world. It was just, like I said, a ton of fun. Thanks for coming on. I've been wanting to do this since we got back from Lincoln, and I'm glad you guys were together, which I think makes us a whole lot more fun. And I look forward to seeing you down the road.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you very much for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us. And for those of you at home that are thinking about, for some reason, doing this at your region, message me. There's a very entertaining rule book. We'll gladly help you figure this out. It's a blast.
There you go. All right, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Inside the SCCA. If you like what you heard or watched, subscribe to the RacingWire Podcast Network or the Racing Network on YouTube so you won't miss any episodes. Also be great if you leave a comment, especially if it's a good one, and if it's not, I don't care. That's fine, too. You can follow us on social media to find out our next guests and leave a question. On Twitter, it's at RacingWireNet. A new Inside the SCCA every Wednesday night on YouTube and every Friday morning on the Podcast Network. I'm Brian Bielanski. Have yourself a great weekend. Stay safe and go play with cars.
Hi, I'm Kelton Jago, and this is Inside the SCCA.
Inside the SCCA is a presentation of the RacingWire Podcast Network and Rule 15 Productions. This podcast is not affiliated with, endorsed, or sponsored by the Sports Car Club of America. The views expressed within are those of the host and our guests, and not that of the SCCA.